Cough, 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 cough.
Thank you very much, Karen Down, for starting us off. Mere Mortalites, welcome back to another edition of the Mere Mortals. We've got Meanderings today, and I've got my co-host over here who is fairly sick.
I'm sick, and I've left my phone in the bag, so I'm going to be gone missing in action for another
a little while.
30
Okay.
seconds.
So I'm going to go off with my beautiful sunnies, which have got absolutely no filling, as you can see. Karen's called me the Kid Cudi. Yeah, today's got Meanderings. So as you can tell from the beginning, it's a little bit of whatever we can think of. That could be, I don't know, stupid stories about banks, which I'm definitely going to get into since I missed out on my last one.
We missed that last week.
Just some of my thoughts at the moment with finance and money, where I normally talk about it maybe in musings, but I'm going to just keep it a little bit lighthearted today and talk about that and everything else. What about yourself?
Okay, so I have, put me on the spot. Am I there? All right, yeah. So I have a little bit more about communication and running, and a little bit about not speaking, and then I had I think a pretty good TV show idea, and I want to see. I want to run it by you and see what you reckon.
Okay, all right. Yeah, one thing, the little bit. I listened to, let's just say 7 odd podcasts.
Yeah.
That I listen to on a consistent basis, and I've now heard 2 guests that they had on say a little bit.
Oh really?
A little bit. Now it's like, man, it's just like, now it's like what was that, pivot, like the word pivot for you? Now it's like, stupid.
Once you hear it, it's everywhere. It doesn't go away.
It doesn't leave.
And yeah, and you'll hear it, like I heard people doing it, saying right all the time. So the
right,
et cetera, right or right. And then it's like, it's a nothing word. It's just to reaffirm your own statement. But man, I start hearing it. It's like, oh, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. I can hear everywhere. Anyways, I'm going to begin with something that I wanted to talk about last podcast. And so people might have been wondering, one, where's the story about the banks? Stupid goddamn banks.
Yeah.
And this ties with a mere mortal moment, right? Customer service at banks really makes me wish fiat money goes away. It really makes me wish this.
Yeah,
so,
you don't like your fiat money, do you?
No, well, it's not that I don't mind it. But when I get experiences like this, I go, holy crap, we don't need this shit. Like, this is terrible customer service. I'll give you an example of what happened. A couple of months ago, I'd already applied to this bank's credit card. I'd already applied for them. They declined me.
What for?
They brought me in store. They didn't even say. So this was the example. I went online. They had me like a pre-approval kind of sorts where they say, oh yes, we're happy to give you this money in a credit card, but you have to come in and store. And then back in the day, so like a couple of months ago, I went into the store, I went to see the person, waited half an hour for the theoretical manager, and they came out and said, oh, actually, no, we're not approving you. And I went, all right, fine. Because I already got it accepted with my other credit card that I have. Awesome, cool, I don't care. Now, I wanted to cancel the credit card that I've got right now because it's just not useful at all for me. I went, okay, I want to try and get this one. There shouldn't be any issues. So again, I fill in the online stuff. Quick typing, fill it in. Still takes me 40 minutes of online information.
Those things aren't.
You got to put your ID number, you got to put whatever, all this. Cool. Fill it all in. Get all the way to the end and they say, oh, you've been approved again. You've got to provide a couple of documents for us. And I tried to do it online. The system didn't allow me to. This happens a lot because my IDs don't get picked up for some reason with a lot of banking systems. Either my name,
you have too bloody middle names.
Too many, like, it's not, no middle names, too many first names, too many last names. I get it. I'm not hating the bank on that. But I had an email from the goddamn bank saying, hey, come into the store so you can finish all the information. I'm thinking, cool, I'll get my credit card in a couple of weeks, easy. This was a couple of weeks ago. And I went into the store, right? I go into the goddamn store. I set up an appointment. So that's between 10 to 12 o'clock, right? So I go in there and I go, hey, I line up and I say, hey, I've got an appointment. Oh, you'll have to line up anyways though. Okay, so I line up. 20 minutes. So you get to the front of the line. Now I get to the front of the line. The person's trying to be quite nice, right? But I've seen some of these people. They're kind of annoying. I've talked to some of them already and they're kind of annoying.
You already know they're trash.
You already know. Now I don't have any accounts with them, but I go, look, I've applied online. I applied a couple of months ago. You guys declined me. However, you've approved me now, like online, and it says I just have to come in, and I have to just show you my IDs, and then it's going to be approved. Fantastic. Here's the email. And then they start having a look, and they go, okay, yeah, we can see your ID number here. Okay, anyways, cut a long story short, he basically goes, oh, yeah, I can't find this on the system. And I go, okay, so can you like resubmit it or something? And he goes, no, you'll have to redo it again, right? And I go, okay, well, I already wasted my time.
Is he at all apologetic about this?
Zero apology.
That's the
worst.
And
the line behind me is getting, like, let's say there's like 10 people waiting. And I go to him and I go, well, look, I already did it. Can I just do it right now with someone so you can prove my IDs and whatnot. That way I don't have this issue again to come back. And he goes, no, you'll have to make a booking. I go, okay, can I make a booking for today so I can do it? And he goes, no, we don't have it. And I go, okay, when can I make a booking? How long is it going to take? And he goes, oh, about an hour. And I said to him, like, I looked him dead in the eye and I was like, so you mean to say that I did it online and your system doesn't work? So I have to come in here, you give me the meal, you can't find me, so I've got to rebook to do an hour, and you can't do it like now for like, literally right now your system has failed, and tell me I've got to go away and come back. And he just looked at me and said, yes, now can I help you with anything else?
Oh.
I said, no, actually you can delete that. And then someone else came around being like, oh, do you need any help? And I was like, man, go away. And straight got them away. I pulled out my Google and just put a review. Like, I didn't even look at all the other reviews. I just left a 1-star review and was like, this is a horrific bank. Do not go to this bank, right?
Yeah.
And they replied back being like, oh, so sorry you had a bad time. Please let us know what happened. And then I went and checked the rest of the reviews. This bank has like an average 1.2 star review on Google of like more than 50 reviews.
Bro, that's not good.
okay, this is telling. I'm like, I'm never using this goddamn bank, this cuffsame people. I just wish there was, I just wish like there wasn't a need for this money anymore. I was like, I wish I could just be paying with Doge or Bitcoin at some point. Give me a card from other places. Oh,
I don't follow the news, but I keep hearing of like, was it Ecuador? I thought it was a country that started with E, just randomly started accepting like Bitcoin as payment for anything. I was like, maybe one should move to Ethiopia.
Man,
I think maybe it was Ethiopia.
Frustrated me so much. Like, this is just it's such a waste of time. And for even a company as large as some of these banks to just go, oh, well, stuff, you're just a number, like, go away.
Yeah.
Like, how... You never know, like, what type of person that'd just be like, okay, I'm now going to share this to, like, 1 million of my followers and say, like, do not use this goddamn bank. It's like 1/25 of Australia and be like, nah, disown this bank.
I wonder if the reason I'm so solitary is just because I've learnt more than you.
Probably, maybe.
Just how shit people are and how annoying they can be.
Anyways, that's my little razzle on that.
All right, there you go. That was good. All right, so I posed you a question last week, and I thought it'd be more difficult, but you brushed it aside. And that would be whether you would rather meditate for 7 hours or run for 7 hours. And then this was over various periods, and you continuously were like, nah, running. So, all right, here's a more difficult one, I think. Would you rather never be able to speak again or never exercise? So grunting and communication is allowed via writing, and you can develop some sort of system where like 2 grunts maybe means yes, a high-pitched grunt means like woman, go do the fucking dishes or whatever, because I know you're a misogynist one. So what would you choose out of those 2? And well, same question. For a full day, never exercise or no speaking? What would you do for that?
For just 1 day?
Just 1 day.
Oh, no speaking.
No speaking?
No speaking.
Yeah.
What about you?
Okay. Well, no exercise is easy. I do that all the time. But if it was like a day where I thought I might get a PB, then I'd probably do the no speaking.
Okay. Yeah.
But that would be pretty hard for you. But okay, so what about 6 months then? So 6 months, you're not allowed to speak.
What do we mean no exercise? What does that mean? Like, can I walk around?
You can walk.
Okay.
There's no competitive walking though. There's no way of gamifying it.
Okay.
You can just walk.
That's hard. That is actually hard.
I thought this one would be harder for you. So for me, I think I would go for the 6 months of no speaking, because one of the things I learned from the little meditation retreat was that was probably like the biggest outcome I got from it, which I didn't really speak about, which was there was something really weird about not speaking for 7 days. And I noticed this particularly on the last day when I was out, I left the building, left my secluded enclave, whatever it's called, and I was doing some exercise outside. There was a guy at the park who I normally see. I don't really talk with him, but I sometimes talk with him. And so I just had to wave at him, sort of maintain distance and whatnot. Yeah. And one thing I just noticed was, how people say, oh, live like you're in your own movie, that sort of thing. When you don't speak for that long, it sort of feels like you are. Because I was thinking, oh, there's a weird situation. What's Kyron going to do here? You get that voice in your head really does seem to be like a narrator.
Okay.
And I was even thinking of doing an experiment with this at some time, another week in silence, but just doing my normal life. And, I'd have to reschedule the podcast. But for me, I can do that. For you, it would be way more difficult because you got work. You got,
Yeah.
and I think you just like to communicate more than I do.
I do, but given the 6 months, I don't know. I'm still on the fence there. It's not as easy for me to say, no, I'd have to be speaking. I think I might even sway towards the working out for 6 months.
Yeah.
And for those 6 months, just writing on something, doing something else. I think
Yeah.
that almost would be my...
You'd have to quit work, right? Or like...
No, I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so.
You could work?
Well, because like, in most workplaces, you can work if you've got like that type of disability. Like whether you can... You know what I mean? Like
so
if
you could
can't
have to
speak,
play it off as a disability to...
Basically, I just write to everyone. Like I just be typing everyone.
Hey, I just had a
like,
mental breakdown. I'm not going to be able to...
Yeah. I mean...
to speak for 6 months.
Obviously, the fact that you have to break in between two, it's akin of saying like, oh, by the way, I cannot speak because I want to work out for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Although, in those circumstances, I almost feel tempted to say I would take the 6 months off work and I'd go traveling, like if the time of traveling, or go solitude style, go mountain climbing up hills or whatever, something really crazy on my own.
Just a full blown like I'm doing this.
Like that would be enjoyable.
Like
that actually would be enjoyable to an extent. Obviously, I can't say. Like I could say right now, a week of no talking, I could do. I think I could do it. Months on end though, okay, that's gonna be hard. So I don't know.
Same here. I'm not
like
sure
not
how
training
lonely.
for like 2 months. Oh man,
Shit.
that's something else. That's something else entirely. Yeah. I'd start speaking in working out. Like 2 push-ups means B.
Yeah.
7 push-ups mean whatever G.
Yeah. That's such a wild way of doing things.
Like 2 squats is one squat's 1, 2 squats 2.
You're trying to communicate like the deepest philosophical thing that you've ever seen before, and you're just starting to do like burpees and like mixing that with muscle ups.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's how I was speaking.
That's pretty funny. That's good. Yep. Do you have another one?
I do.
Okay,
cool. So let me bring this up. Just finally worrying and thinking less financially around something. So I think if you tune in Me Immortalites back in the day, let's talk about maybe 3-4 months ago back in podcasts, I was always talking about shares this, money that, fiat this, etc., etc., etc. But I think I'm starting to get to the point now, and I already mentioned it maybe slightly where when I bought a couple of NFTs, I shifted some of my money over that way. I started selling out, putting some stuff in savings, and it's slowly getting to the point that I'm okay. This is now finally deciding. Like I'm not talking to you about, every morning I'm doing 20 minutes of research on the financial markets and all that sort of stuff. It's actually going away to the point where.
Do you still consume the news?
No, not as much either.
News,
so that's one thing where I was reminiscing back on. I did a little breakdown maybe 4 months ago on what am I wasting my time on during the day and how can I like tighten things up. And one of them was making sure I'm only using 10 to 15 minutes in the morning for my financial perusal or whatnot. And for a long time I was like, oh yes, I really look forward to that. But ever since a couple of weeks ago, I've started shifting away to, okay, no, this is not mattering as much. Maybe it's because of what I'm investing in, so it's moving away more from day trading to more of long-term trading, and maybe of listening and reading a few more things around long-term games. And so buying the NFTs, that was like a massively long-term play. And a couple of things that I'm reading at the moment as well. It's like, oh, okay, well, a lot of these long-term views. Okay, I don't have to really be worrying about this micro environment will happen day to day. Okay, maybe I'll keep in tune with the macro environment, but micro, not so much anymore. So I'm like, okay, no, that's cool. Have you still found yourself still completely like after the silent retreat? Have you found yourself even less inclined to look at the news, more, or a bit the same?
I think it's useful. It is useful. It does has its uses. Like you are able to communicate with people on certain topics that you'd never know. Like, and I'm always sort of behind. So like my dad will tell me something and I'll be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a bit of that. I've become, look, the silent retreat was okay. There's no big changes in my life.
Yeah, it wasn't like the next chapter of life.
No. It was okay. It was a fun little experience. I'm probably not going to do it again, but in that same style at least. Mm-hmm. But there's no real like huge realizations from it. So sorry to disappoint everyone out there who was expecting me to.
One thing though that I've learned about this sort of stuff. So when does it pay off to know the micro rather than the macro? Like when should you know current affairs, what's happening? And I found this very distinctively. So you wouldn't have seen this in the podcast, folks, but last podcast we're doing Musing and Meanderings. We're sitting here like we're doing today, and this dude came about us. Like we'd finished the podcast, he came over. It was when we began.
Just
he
before,
came over, said hello, got his name, seemed like a nice guy. Cool. He had on his way. Told us a little bit about he was doing something about a podcast, and I just make sure, okay, cool, I got to follow up. Now, I followed up with him and caught up with him last week, right, through the week. And in doing that, I actually found myself, for that particular interaction, I went, okay, well, I need to like go to the micro a little bit here, where I need to understand, okay, what is he about, right? So what has he done in the past? Maybe a quick little 20-minute review of what's he doing. Kind of like I would be doing an interview. But at the same time, also reflecting on, okay, the things that he might be interested in, just kind of getting to know a little bit lay of the land of what's happening in the right now kind of scenario. So when we were talking, and it was around innovations in Australia and whatnot, we started talking a little bit politically, a little bit around some of the other aspects of what's happening with innovation in Australia, some of the bills, like that, I was sort of aware of, but just like honed myself in a little bit more in understanding, okay, that's in the now. And then in that conversation with him, it was a lot of stuff in the now, where if I hadn't done that, okay, it's you could be talking about things, but you might not connect as easily, especially when it's someone new. If it's someone you know for a long time, well, okay, but it's much easier. So there's places I still believe where it's powerful, but to always be on about everything, I'm starting to go, okay, there's places I don't need to be on all the time.
Yeah. About everything, it's there's no point. You know, I could see myself getting into the minutiae of, I don't know, what's like the latest and greatest in circus performance or something like that. If I really got into handstanding, maybe. But yeah, just in general, like trying to be on top of everything. Good luck in this day and age.
Yep,
There's
exactly.
way too much stuff. All right, so my TV show idea.
Oh,
So
here we go.
There's a culmination from two things: the Shuangzi, and just finished a book, River Out of Eden, by Dawkins.
Out of Eden.
So it's very.
Oh yeah, they say that book is really good.
Yes.
Quick thoughts. Is it good?
Quick thoughts. It's all right. I've read a lot of evolution type books before, so it wasn't
same.
fascinating. I knew most of it anyway,
Okay.
so I was like, okay, it's all right. Anywho, it got me thinking about. I don't know. There was these two things. One, when I was doing the book review, the template for Shuangzi, I put on a Fu Manchu. Do you know what that meant? Mustaches. So, fun fact: I never actually knew this. The Fu Manchu mustache is from a guy called Fu Manchu, and he was a character. He was a character in Sax Roma novels back in, I think it was like the early 20th century, so like the start of the 1920s to 50s, something like that. Yeah. And he was like this evil dictator guy who had a mustache like that, and so that particular mustache just got named after this fictional character.
There you go. Oh, that's very cool.
If I ever wrote a book, man, I would want my character to be so like great that people name something after him, like a particular aspect of him.
They name a dick after you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dick shape.
So I don't know why this came up, but he's talking in Dawkins' book. He's talking a lot about genes and passing things on to the next generation, and I don't know why, but I sort of combine these two things of like, okay, and it just got me thinking, like, you know, why don't people go to sperm banks and things like that? Like, evolutionary speaking, that should make tons of sense. When was the last time someone really gave birth to a lot of offspring? And what would you do with so many offspring? And so in the Shuangzi, they were saying, like, you know, some people get like the opportunity to go to different lands. Like, they sort of had to, no one child just got all the money. They had to go off and prove themselves. And I was like, oh, that'd be a cool idea. So what I would do, so if I had, let's just say $60 billion, and
oddly specific,
and yeah, whatever, and I was, you know, a dick slinger in my youth. So I swung the dick around, and well, I got to the stage where I was like, okay, very rich, and I already had some children for my own like personal benefit. But then it's like, you know what, I want to do something for humanity. So I go to a sperm bank and I just donate like as much sperm as I can all across the world. And then what I would do is say, like, okay, my sperm is in all of these places. In 20 years time, I'm going to be nearing the end of my life. I'm not going to give the money to my own like favored children. I want them to prove themselves, and I want you to prove yourself, future children. So I will give most of my money, like I'll maybe split it up into like different pots, but I would create the ultimate tournament. And so what I would do is I wouldn't want like my one child just to be good at one thing, like the ultimate fighter or the ultimate mathematician. I would want the ultimate human being. So
the eminent human being.
The eminent human being. So what I would say is, like, this is a competition open to anyone who can prove they have my I'm the father of. And so in 20 years time, you're getting all these 20-year-olds coming up and coming, and I'd start this tournament, and it would be like a mismatch of all the current TV shows. So it'd be like the top Master Chef, and then it would be UFC fighting, and then it would be like the best crochet or the best garden. And I'd create this thing where it's like you have to not win them, but you have to be like the best competitor across all these different types of branches, and you then get like, let's just say $1 million, and $1 billion, and then etc. It goes on.
Pretty good. I do like that.
So you'd get like, I would love to see how people would approach that. Would they try and divert? And there's like, and it's got that aspect of being like blood on blood, sibling rivalry, that sort of stuff. And because it's open to everyone in the world, there'll be Asians in it, or half Asians, I guess. Everyone's going to be half, so there'll be like half Asians versus half Europeans versus half like Aborigines versus half. And I think that would just be fascinating to see what people are really good at, how they go about going it, and then I would be doing my duty to my genes by spreading the genes everywhere. So what do you reckon? What would you do if you were a half Karen? You got some Karen blood in you.
Yeah. And
you're, let's just say 20 years old. No, you're 20 years old, and then you're here in 10 years time. The competition's going to open.
It's going to be on.
And you have to verse all these other Karens from across the world, you don't know what it's going to be, but it's just going to be super, super varied. So there'll be, chess matches, there'll be boxing, there'll be cooking shows, there'll be...
You never know. It could be anything. It could be like anything.
And it will be a lot of different things.
Yep.
So you can't just take a risk and bank on it being physical stuff, because you will excel at that. There will be some, but there's going to be other stuff.
Other things.
How would you try and train your mind and body so that in 10 years' time you'll be not the best at everything, but that skill stacking concept that Scott Adams has. You'll be top 10% in cooking and top 10% in running, top 15% in etc.
That's an interesting question. I like that. I like the idea of the TV show with the half-blood Karens, all the half-blood Karens fighting each other for the $1 billion.
That'd be so funny. That'd be so funny.
I think I'd begin with two core aspects of it, which would be physical preparation, and resilience for me.
And resilience.
I would go resilience and physical preparation, and I would stack them together. So I would, over the top of physical preparedness in the sense of swimming, hiking, walking, and kind of doing more and more and more of it, to also sort of bolster your resilience. So to the point that you can do more and more and more day in, day out if needed to. Up to a point. So I think that the first half, those first 5 years, just stacking that as much as possible. So you all of a sudden, it's like you're super healthy, you're able to eat well, maybe at the same time you're stacking, learning how to cook better every sort of year. And then at the 5-year mark, I think I would transition to a maintenance at whatever level you achieve there, and then start going broad on, I'm going to say not reading, but watching. Those videos that you can watch where it's like something explained in 60 minutes, something explained in 30 minutes. I think I'd just watch every single availability that's ever existed. Chess explained, 30 minutes. Yeah. Something explained, 30 minutes. Because I think if I'm thinking about it, I'd go, okay, I feel like at a particular point, you're just going to have to just know a lot of things, not to all the way to the nth degree, but to the point you can be like, oh, I understand what's going on here, and then just risk it for the biscuit when it comes to the challenge.
Yeah, okay.
How would you, if you were a half-blood Karen?
Yeah.
So you're half
I've cloned myself.
Yeah, you've cloned yourself and you're a half-blood Karen.
Yeah.
Half-blood clone.
So I would probably, similar thing, I'd be thinking more of the splitting into two, the physical and then maybe the more intellectual. So physical, I would just try and get good, a base thing at everything really. So just an ability to have a good core. So it would require cardio stuff I'm not really doing now. I wouldn't be spending all day doing handstands. I'd be doing a mix of body weight stuff, and I do weighted stuff, and then I'd do more specific a particular rowing or something like that. So I would try and build up a core that's pretty strong throughout, and then, like you said, sort of a maintenance at some point.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, like, I would maybe just do something where every single day, if I saw someone doing something, I would have to go try it. There's a guy just opposite us now taking photos of a girl across the river. I would maybe go up to him and be like, hey, how does one go about taking photos? Like, what are some of the general tips you could give me?
Yeah.
And just start trying to get into groups like that where, you know, I see a guy changing a car tire. All right, how does one go about changing a car tire? Like, that's probably something that could come in useful. And do that across, like, all the time. So just get interested in what other people are doing and then just hope all those skills come across. And then maybe just get really good at one thing I really enjoy, like learning another language.
I'm trying to think, what's this one skill, the one skill you could think of that would be the most transferable to absolute, like if you had to think of any activity in the world, what's the one that would be the one that most translates to? And that's why I think for me to be, so I was going to say something physical, but I'm more relying on something like resilience or just fortitude or discipline, something to that effect. Because even if, you know, it's in a competitive environment, for almost anything, you're going to be, say, frustrated or, you know, who even knows what may happen. And, I don't know, you just have to be, like, in that game mindset to be like, oh, no, cool, I'm just going to try and work this out. Like, always maybe problem solving, like the logic mindset of like, okay, break it down. What does this mean? What do I have to do? Maybe to that effect.
Yeah. I would have maybe said, you know, emotional intelligence or like that ability to really connect with someone really quickly. But because it's such a competition style, yeah, maybe that'd be like a soccer team sort of one where you're all just randomly assigned and then your soccer team has to play against all the others. But for the most part, it's going to be an individual competition. So there's no real point in developing like super great skills in communication because it's just...
It might be like, all right, now you got to do a 96-kilometer hike. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang, my emotional intelligence.
I'm glad I spent the last 10 years, you know, going to that, you know, book reading club and becoming like the next Oprah.
That's the thing. I think no matter what I almost think of, I'm thinking resilience or some sort of problem-solving skills that will serve you for almost absolutely anything. Like running, you could break it down into like, okay, well, I'm going to run at this pace. Hiking, okay, resilience. Or playing chess, okay, problem-solving / bit of resilience. So I think those two characteristics maybe would play along for a lot of things.
If we did that right now, for example, so let's just say everyone in their age group in the world has to verse everyone else and in this sort of competition, so there would be, to the death. So that would be like, you know, everything from, let's just say 20-year-olds to 100-year-olds. The winners of that, if we did that right now in the world, do you think you and I would personally have heard of any of them? So like, would it be someone who's already recognized as a, you know, a Tim Ferriss type person who's so good across many different categories? Do you think that someone like that is someone who's already almost risen to the top of success?
Of like what you would call the eminent human being?
In this world right now, in the sense of success in that we know them?
Nah, I feel
or
like
would it just be like some random dude in like, you know, Finland who's just, you know,
quiet,
naturally good, gifted, and then just keeps to himself, does like his own thing, and has developed the techniques that are necessary?
I have a feeling that it's someone that we wouldn't have known about. Almost to the point of, you know, the inverse where a lot of the really popular people that you either hear about or that you read about and all this, to some extent, they've all gone through some challenges or some negatives. Tim Ferriss, Joe Rogan, whoever. Or they used to be fat, or they went through depression, or whatever. They went through struggles, and that makes for a good story, and they're good storytellers. And I think that's why we think like, oh, they're a really good point in their lives. But I feel like there would have to be humans out there who like just did not go through any negative portions of their life. Like there's no depression,
just killing it at
no
everything.
Issues. They've just been like amazing at everything, supernaturally talented. Not that they've reached the upper echelons of like a CEO or whatever, but they're just like, you know, some random dude who, you know, could wake up and run 100 meters, or he could run 10 kilometers, but he could also sit down and sit like a GMAT test or whatever, go like either doctor or something like that, and just does his own thing. I reckon those sort of people would be the ones who would like absolutely kill it because they just have no negatives in their life.
I'm on board with that. It's just some guy or some girl who just killed it at everything.
Yeah, 'cause I'm just thinking like even ourselves personally, I'm thinking like, oh, I wouldn't imagine us to do too bad. I'm thinking like physically and maybe in some other aspects. But I could just imagine those people who are just quiet and like, oh yeah, I can also cook, and I can also change tire, I can build a house, and I can also play guitar. I can also sing. I can also write. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
shit.
no.
Yeah.
I'm probably too specified to be even part of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I didn't say my mere mortal moment, which was I need to start growing my Fu Manchu 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I like the look of it. I looked at it and I was like, you know what?
Ooh.
That was good.
Okay.
I think I would need to dye my mustache black though. Like I don't think a blonde brunette.
I mean, that could be the new thing. The blonde Fu Manchu.
blonde Fu Manchu. I'll name
50 years from now. Blonde Fu Manchu.
Blue Manchu.
Blue Manchu.
All right, so I think that's.
I think that was kind of for
my
Meanderings
stuff.
today, folks. Of course, if you've enjoyed this sort of podcast, go back and have a listen to the other Meanderings. We got over 200 episodes now to go back and watch. So if you're feeling bored, if you're feeling like, man, what am I going to do? How can I pass time? Well, there's probably 50 odd Meanderings. If you can go back and chill out and check back through history, you can go and listen to all the other stuff as well, of course.
That'd be more than that, actually.
That's right. If you're listening to us on the audio, please leave a review if you are on the platforms you can. If not, share it with a friend.
Share it with a
always
friend.
Enjoyable.
Yeah.
If you're in the videos, liking, subscribing, always appreciated. Comments as well. We see them. We see them all, obviously, because at the moment. But if you're on the Mere Mortals book review stuff, it's starting to get busy there. We're closing in on 500 subscribers there.
That's
Plenty of listens across the platform. So get in quick before it starts getting too busy.
Yeah.
Too busy. That's the incentive.
There's people out there who are like, I was part of PewDiePie's first 1,000 subscribers.
That's right.
You want to be part of it.
You want to be part of it. You want to be part of it. Yeah. Plus, the incentive is you're going to get lots of laughs the next 10 years. That's what you're going to get.
That's it.
So, folks, that's basically it for the Mere Mortals. Mere Mortals out there. Enjoy yourselves. One out.
Karen out.
Bye.
Nyang.